Today we're making a super tasty dessert for fall, apple cider donut bread pudding. Hi there foodie friends, my name is Carly and welcome back to my channel, Adventures in Yum. We start by cutting our apple cider donuts into pieces that are approximately 1 inch or about 2.5 centimeter cubes. We chop up anywhere between 6 to 10 donuts. If you like the bread pudding more custardy, add about 6 to 8 donuts. But if you want a more bready and less custardy bread pudding, then add about 8 to 10 donuts. I had a couple extra, so for this particular batch, I used 12 donuts. We add the donut pieces to a baking sheet lined with either parchment paper or foil that has been sprayed with nonstick cooking spray. We spread the donut pieces onto the baking sheet and place it into the oven. We bake this at 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 177 degrees Celsius for approximately 15 to 20 minutes, or until the donut pieces seem mostly dried out and very crispy. I also recommend flipping them or moving them around the tray about halfway through cooking just to make sure that you get even toasting. We then set this tray aside to cool while the custard base is prepared. To a medium saucepan, we add 2 cups or about 473 milliliters of heavy whipping cream and 2 cups or about 473 milliliters of either half and half or whole milk. We then place it over medium heat on the stove. While this heats up, we add 1 cup or 200 grams of granulated sugar, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and 8 large egg yolks to a large glass mixing bowl. We whisk these ingredients together until it slightly lightens in color, about 2 to 3 minutes. Once the cream mixture is brought to a simmer, we remove the pan from the heat. We then slowly pour some of the cream mixture into the egg yolk and sugar mixture, making sure that we whisk constantly as the warm dairy is added. We then pour some more of the cream mixture into the bowl while whisking constantly. Once about 1/3 or half of the cream mixture has been added to the egg mixture, we're going to pour the mixing bowl contents back into the saucepan, whisking constantly while doing so. We're placing the saucepan back on the stove, stirring frequently and cooking over a medium-low heat until it slightly thickens and coats the back of a spoon. Next, we pour this custard mixture over the dried donut pieces in a large mixing bowl. You don't have to strain the custard, but I always like to do this just in case whenever I make a custard base. We gently mix the custard and donut pieces around to ensure that all of the donut pieces get coated in custard. We then set this aside to let the donuts absorb the custard mixture for about 5 minutes. After the 5 minutes is up, we're going to stir the bread pudding. We can also add an optional 1 cup of chopped nuts, and usually I use walnuts, but here I decided to use pecans. I usually use a 9x13 baking dish that's been sprayed with nonstick cooking spray to bake the apple cider donut bread pudding, but I decided to try something different this time. I used parchment paper cups and baked most of the bread pudding in a cupcake pan. I still had some left over, so I added the rest of the bread pudding to a small glass pan. You can add an optional sifting of cinnamon over the top of the apple cider donut bread pudding. I skipped that step this time, but I actually do recommend it. We place the bread pudding in a 350 degree Fahrenheit or 177 degrees Celsius oven for approximately 30 to 40 minutes or 45 to 50 minutes depending on the baking dish that you use. Before we check out our bread pudding and top it with some yummy stuff, if you're getting value out of this video, then please make sure to hit that like button, click subscribe, and ring that bell to be notified about my latest video. Once all of the custard is set, we remove the pan from the oven and place it on a cooling rack. Allow the apple donut bread pudding to cool for at least 10 minutes before you cut into it. If using a 9x13 pan, then cut them into squares and serve either warm or cold. And here's the apple cider donut bread pudding, all finished and topped with some vanilla ice cream and caramel drizzle. This version was pretty good, but a bit thick and bready for my liking. I definitely personally prefer the version where there are less donuts so that the apple cider donut bread pudding has a much more custardy consistency. Which way do you prefer your bread pudding, custardy or more bready? Let me know in the comments. Let me know in the comments if you give this scrumptious dessert a try and how you like it. If you're interested in checking out some of the products I used in this video, then please make sure to check out that video description below for some of their Amazon links. Thank you so much for joining me today, foodie friends. I'll see you next time for another yummy adventure.